Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm awake, and my name is Danielle Moody.
I'm alive mostly, and my name is Wajahat Ali with my chai because my cat decided to have a nervous breakdown last night and kept me up till 7 a.m. So this is the face of a father who's exhausted, who came back because he took his kids jet skiing at a rich friend's home over the weekend and should have relaxed, but didn't relax. And instead, I was going to call Danielle on July 4th, but then I gave her a break and called Qasim Rashid. And you should have seen me like a nutty person walking around as everyone's having fun talking about the New York Times. But we are here, folks, even though we're exhausted. And we're going to talk about how Republicans care more about protecting a pedophile and their bottom line than actually Republicans who live in Texas. Because a heartbreaking tragedy. I mean, there's so many crises. But, you know, Danielle and I were talking about this.
Yeah.
For those who have seen Democracy-ish and been with us for the past couple of years. But we kept wondering out loud, if Elon Musk, the world's richest man, and Donald Trump, who doesn't give an F about anything but himself, through DOGE, cut the National Weather Service and cut NOAA and cut FEMA, well, what will happen, especially in America, which is a huge country, and there are places like, Florida and Texas, that get floods and hurricanes. What will happen? Let's see. When they cut FAA, we saw planes go down and we saw preventable airline collisions. So what do you think, Danielle, would happen? And we thought, this benefits the Grim Reaper and death. And Danielle, tell them what happened over the weekend. What's still happening?
It's so devastating because yesterday, guys, I put up a video, just a quick video on Sunday, which, I don't normally do. And it was because of this tragedy that happened on Friday, that began on Wednesday night. Let's just say the tragedy began on Wednesday night. And as many of you know now, Wednesday warnings go out to the best of their ability from the National Weather Service that says that a storm is coming. And, and as this storm is coming, what ends up happening is something that has, as we are so used to saying now when it comes to weather, something that has never happened before. Guadalupe River rose 20 feet in an hour, right? So I just like the just think about that, right? Like think about being in a pool and you're at 6 feet, right? And you're like calm at 6 feet, and think about water rising, 3+ times that in an hour, right? And on the banks, can you turn down your gain a little bit on your mic? On the on the banks of that river, Christian all girls camp, in the towns surrounding Kerr County in Texas. And so I just want to, I want to put up the death toll. So when I did my video yesterday morning, when I posted it about 11:30, I did the video at 11:30. It posted at about 2:30. The death toll was at 50.
Yep.
The death toll right now, and this was as of probably an hour ago, was at 89.
It just went up to 90.
Yeah. So now 90. And it keeps going. So, so now we can say at least 90 people are dead and dozens are still missing after devastating flash flood slammed Texas hill country, with water rescues taking place along the Guadalupe River, which rose rapidly early Friday morning to the height of a 2-story building.
Oof.
Okay. 2-story building. So even if you and again, this is why these warnings, these alerts that we receive when there are going to be tornadoes, when there are going to be hurricanes, when you are on your phone and you ever hear that beep, beep, beep that comes through, an emergency weather system that is alerting us to the fact that like something is changing drastically. Those things don't come out of thin air. They are procedures that have been put in place by agencies that are staffed with skilled workers right, that are coordinating with meteorologists, that are coordinating with climatologists, that are coordinating with on the ground local emergency crews to get people activated to save as many lives as possible. And what we will learn now, so of the fatalities so far, 75 occurred in Kerr County. Its Sheriff Larry Letha said at a news conference. The dead include 48 adults, 27 children, with 15 of the adults and 9 of the children unidentified. Camp Mystic, located along the river in Hunt, Texas, confirmed Monday that at least, folks, 27 campers and counselors died in the flooding. Our hearts are broken alongside our families that are enduring the unimaginable tragedy. We are praying for them constantly. We have been in communication with local and state authorities who are tirelessly deploying extensive resources to search for our missing girls. And and here's the devastation. I mean, the fact that a flood could come, Waj, in an hour, go from normal, I'm sure the camp, beautiful, on a riverbank, drop your kids off in nature, enjoy. And in an hour, 2 stories worth of water is on top of them. And so, what we have learned, right? So, of course, the blame game begins, which is that Texas officials were blasting the National Weather Service for faulty forecast. And Texas is blaming the National Weather Service for the weather changing from the original forecast. The 3 satellites that the Department of Defense stopped allowing NOAA to access data from on June 30th were specifically designed to monitor rapid intensification like what occurred. If you want to point fingers, start there. And I just like this title of Allen Analysis Originals, Drowned by Austerity.
Yep.
Texas floods expose National Weather Service collapse. And I just want to play for you this clip, and then Waj, you please, give us your thoughts. But essentially what is written here is said by this meteorologist a few months ago when the DOGE cuts were coming through. Take a listen.
Hurricane was heading here. And as you've grown accustomed to my presentations over my 34 years in South Florida newscasts, confidently, I went on TV and I told you it's going to turn. You don't need to worry. It is going to turn. And I am here to tell you that I am not sure I can do that this year because of the cuts, the gutting, the sledgehammer attack on science in general, and I could talk about that for a long, long time, and how that is affecting the U.S. Leadership in science over many years, and how we're losing that leadership, and this is a multi-generational impact on science in this country, all right? But specifically, let's talk about the federal government cuts to the National Weather Service and to NOAA. Did you know that Central and South Florida National Weather Service offices are currently basically 20 to 40% understaffed? From Tampa to Key West, including the Miami office, 20 to 40% understaffed. Now, this type of staffing shortage is having impacts across the nation because there's been a nearly 20% reduction in weather balloon launches that carry those radiosondes. And what we're starting to see is that the quality of the forecasts is becoming degraded. There's also a chance, because of some of these cuts, that NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft will not be able to fly this year, and with less reconnaissance missions, we may be flying blind, and we may not exactly know how strong a hurricane is before it reaches the coastline, like happened a couple of years ago in Hurricane Otis in Acapulco, Mexico. So I was asked to talk about this today. I'm glad I was. I just want you to know that what you need to do is call your representatives and make sure that these cuts are stopped.
And the fact is they weren't. And so we're here.
What makes it even more painful, all of this was preventable.
Mm-hmm.
They chose death. And I remember when you and I were talking about this in Democracyish, we were saying that they have helped the Grim Reaper. The only person who's ecstatic about it is billionaires, the private industry, Republicans behind Project 2025, and the Grim Reaper, because people are going to die. Folks, this was all part of the plan, which makes it even more infuriating. And you should be infuriated because you had those experts in Florida, of all places, warning you that by reducing the staff of these critical organizations, the National Weather Service, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, DOGE cuts, which, by the way, they found money somehow for the defense industry. They found money for Elon Musk's contracts, but they cut USAID. What happened? 300,000 children have died. They found cuts to FAA because Elon Musk was really pissed off that the FAA, cited him for safety violations. So what happened? Preventable airline collisions. They really want to privatize weather because why not grift and make money? And furthermore, there's another angle of this where they don't believe in climate change, because why actually believe in climate change if it means reducing the contracts of oil and gas companies, right? So because of that, it's in Project 2025, and we'll show you a clip of where it is in Project 2025. They told you that this is what we're going to do. And the rest of us who've been trying to warn all of you, myself and Danielle, said people are going to die. However, trans kids, Danielle, pronouns, the woke, a black Indian woman, right? And so people, going back to our friend Jonathan Metzl's book, decide to kill themselves for whiteness. This is literally dying of whiteness. They chose to voluntarily destroy themselves. And the reason for it is they thought, well, they'll go after the undocumented. They'll go after the blacks. They'll go after the queers. They'll go after the Muslims. They'll go after the women. It won't impact me. And now, literally, folks, the death toll as of now, it's going to rise, sadly, is 27 girls and staff killed at the camp in central Texas. 90 people have been confirmed killed. That number is going to rise. It is officially the worst flood in one of the worst floods in U.S. history in the past 100 years. And people, if they had this information, let me tell you straight up how this impacted me last week. I'm in Virginia. All of a sudden, I get the beep, beep, beep. Beware of extreme flash floods. Okay, Danielle? Mm-hmm, I'm driving. Mm-hmm. I look up. Everything's fine. But then it's like 15 miles away from me. So I'm like, okay, it'll probably hit in 10 minutes. I get home. I'm inside my home. For 10 minutes, it is wild, Danielle.
Yeah.
Wild. Yep. And my wife's calling. She goes, yo, I'm coming home from work, but it's like standstill. But because I got the warning, we were able to then arrange ourselves. Now imagine these poor people. If you had the warning, would they be out doing what they were doing? Would they be in that arena? Would they be in that region? There'd probably be buses, Danielle, leading them out, right? Just so you'll have infrastructure damage, but at least lives would be saved. And instead, look at what they did. And I know, Danny, you want this, but just look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. Underfunded forecasting and response. The NWS was eviscerated as climate change storms intensify and will intensify. Mm-hmm. When the water gets heated, now you're seeing what in Florida? Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, an increase in them. We never saw that growing up. Now it's a regular basis, right? So now thousands of NOAA jobs are gone, right? Mm-hmm. Thousands of staffers are gone. Fewer meteorologists, gutted forecasting offices. And furthermore, what do they want to do? They want to privatize it. Why? It makes it even worse. Think of the worst supervillain grift and make it more evil. They want to privatize it. So that free weather service that we used to get, that alert that I got last week, you'll have to pay for it, Danielle. You'll have to pay for it to get the premium service. And now the dismantling is underway because it was shared on Project 2025 right there on page 674. These form a colossal operation that has become one of the main drivers of the climate change alarm industry, and as such is harmful to future U.S. prosperity. They killed it to make their rich friends richer. They killed it based on conspiracy theories and bunk science. And I want to repeat it again. These form a colossal operation that has become one of the main drivers of climate change alarm industry. And as such is harmful not to Americans, not to the little girls who died, not to the environment, not to our infrastructure. Can you tell them what it is harmful to? What do they say right there?
I mean, I'll make it even
U.S.
bigger. I'll make it
prosperity.
even big. I'll make it even bigger. It
The
says
industry's
harmful.
mission
The
emphasis on
industries.
prediction and
Yep.
management seems designed around the fatal conceit of planning for the unplannable. That is not to say NOAA is useless, but its current organization corrupts its useful functions. It should be broken up and downsized.
So
And that's what they did, Danielle. They gave money to the military industrial complex. They gave money and tax cuts to the rich in the billionaire bill. They gave money to their friends. Donald Trump has made hundreds of millions of dollars off of crypto. Private prisons have gone up. But guess what? The National Weather Service and these experts whose job was to forecast the weather and warn us, that is, gets in the way of U.S. prosperity. And now let's keep it real. Because of their downsizing, because of Elon Musk, Republicans, and Donald Trump, these girls are dead, and at least 90 Texans are dead. I'm going to say it straight. It's because of them these people are dead. Sorry for my rant.
I mean, but this is the truth. This is the truth. And so for anybody that wants to, pretend in mainstream corporate media to do mental gymnastics around, oh, we don't know if in fact, we had all the staff that was necessary to coordinate with local emergency officials if these people wouldn't be alive. Shut up, right? It's a fucking lie. Because good goddamn well that if there had been the overnight positions, right, at, I believe it was the National Weather Service in San Angelo, if there had been the overnight folks whose positions were eviscerated in April, if they had been there, then the coordination efforts would not have been hampered by lack of personnel. So you do not need to be a rocket scientist to make 1 + 1 = fucking 2 instead of 1 + 1 = 16, which is what the entire ideology behind Project 2025 is about. They care about no one. I thought about it this morning, Waj, when I was just like, oh, we're preparing for the show. And I said to myself, $140 billion to ICE. $140 billion.
No, Danielle, 175 billion.
$175 billion to hurt, harm, terrify, torture human beings. Everything taken away from health, from education, from safety for the American people in order to maximize the amount of harm. And if people don't fucking get that now ICE is Trump's personalized military that is bigger than any military in the country, including our own intelligence fucking agencies, and think that, oh, the only people that are going to be rounded up, if you can even justify that, the only people that are going to be rounded up are people that are undocumented or immigrants or this, that, or the other thing, you are fucking kidding yourself. Donald Trump wants alligator Auschwitz in every state around the country, multiple of them all over, right? And those of us who are not incarcerated and forced into another period of slavery, right, are then crushed under the boot of oppressive oligarchs to do their bidding with no safety nets whatsoever. When we say the rapid decline of America, we are only but 6 months in to this regime. And now we have if you have kidnappings, you have now death by massive storms, you have people talking about the fact that they have been tortured under these policies, and we think to ourselves, oh, where is this new workforce going to come from? And understand that Donald Trump is talking about farmers as owners of human beings.
Yep.
This is the dots that we are connecting that are very, very fucking clear. There is no nuance to be had here. This is it in black and white. This is the idea of enslaving the American population to the oligarchs and creating a permanent system, a permanent caste system that reignites slavery with immigrants on the bottom of the bottom, and then everyone else just a little bit above them. And if you think that you have enough money, as Waj's wealthy friends in these gated communities think that they have enough money to survive this, you can talk to the people that fled Germany in the 1930s. They had enough money to get out, but they needed to also do it in the right amount of time. And I frankly believe, and you can call me hysterical, that we are actually running out of time at this moment.
No, I agree with you. And everything that we've said has come true, and not because we're Nostradamus, because we just connect the dots, and maybe because we're people of color, and maybe because we don't see America through rose-colored glasses, and maybe because we have an expansive view of America's kindness and cruelty, and maybe because we took Donald Trump literally and seriously, and maybe because we have studied white supremacy, survived it, lived through it, and understand that America's twin sins are greed and racism, white supremacy and capitalism. And folks, here you go. The manifestation of it is Donald Trump and MAGA. They literally do not care if you live or die. And if you think we're being hyperbolic, I give you Texas. It's their own base. They do not care if their own base dies. You say, Waj, it's a one-off. Okay, last week, the billionaire bill takes at least 11 to 17 million people off of Medicaid. What will happen? People will die. When you have $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, it isn't just the people are going to get cut off of Medicaid, it's the entire system that will break down. That's why rural hospitals are set to break down. That's why you're going to have nursing homes shut down. What happens, folks? People die. Food benefits, cut those off. No SNAP. What's going to happen? People die. In addition to that, no NOAA, no FAA, no, also cuts to the National Institute of Health. And also another piece of news that just came out, Danielle, and we were a little bit late because the horrors keep piling up. Highest rate of measles in recent history in America. Measles is spreading in 6 months. Why? Because a rich crank, another friend of Donald Trump, who's not an expert, is now the director of Health and Human Services. Who is that person? RFK, who has an exotic relationship with animals, anti-vaxxer, eugenicist. We'll talk about eugenicists today a lot, folks, unfortunately, because we're in the seventh circle of hell. Doesn't believe in vaccines, has gutted all the experts. So now measles, folks, which again, I want to go back to this. Preventable death is spreading. This was preventable. This was done because they invested in greed, cruelty, and racism. They just don't care. And because white supremacy has always been self-destructive, white supremacy and those who think, it's not just white folks, those who think they'll be white, those who think they'll be protected, right? You're about to find out. Because even Pastor Niemöller, the quote we all often refer to on the show, first they came for and then they came for in Nazi Germany. People forget that at first he was complicit. At first he thought, oh, this won't affect me. And then when it started coming after his community, that's when he said, oh shit. First they came for, I was quiet. Then they came for, I was quiet. Then they came for, and I was quiet. And fascists at the end of the day come for everyone. And I hope, Danielle, look, I don't know if MAGA is going to turn, but I know there are a lot of people who voted for Trump who aren't hardcore MAGA. And I know a lot of people stayed away from the election. If those people wake up, maybe, I don't know, Danielle, because there was also COVID. These people showed you their true colors during COVID. Let's not forget, Donald Trump was president. A huge piece of, everlasting shame that if it was anyone else would be in the news nonstop was that Bob Woodward, another piece of shit, had the tapes in which he had Donald Trump admitting during the start of COVID that he knew how dangerous COVID was, right? While he knew and had the evidence of how dangerous COVID was, do you know what Donald Trump and Republicans said? Open it up. Open up. Open up. Why? They said they wanted to open up America by spring because he was terrified of losing the election. What did Republicans say? All right, grandma and grandpa, herd immunity, you gotta go. Why? Because they're eugenicists, herding, culling, right? As Danielle said, culling of the weak, whoever survives is the strongest. That was the same mindset during the 19th century, during slavery, right? So whoever's going to die is going to die. They're non-productive. Whoever lives, we're going to work them. We're going to work them until they're useful. Then we're going to take them out back like the horses, shoot them in the head, right? And then Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, a billionaire, another billionaire for Donald Trump, said what? Just a couple months ago. Eventually, these workers are going to be replaced by AI anyway. They don't care. And they don't even care about Earth, because as Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and others have said, they're going to take the chosen ones, the productive members of the human race, and guess where they're going to go, Danielle? Not Earth. Tell them.
Mars.
Mars.
Or colonize the moon. So I want to say this because somebody had put it in the chat and I needed to go and look up the data. Do you want to know the percentage of Kerr County in Texas where there are now a number of deaths that occurred because of the flooding? What percentage that went for Trump in 2024?
85.
77.
That was close.
77%. Now, I want to be clear that I'm lifting that up, and I appreciate the person that put it in the chat, and then I just went to go double check because I am not saying that people at all deserve to die, but I'm saying that your votes have repercussions. 70%, 77% of that county that had their weather systems gutted, that had staff gutted from the National Weather Service and from NOAA, voted for this. This was, and this, none of this should be a surprise because
Nope.
it was all written in Project 2025 that every person had access to, because guess what? It was a free PDF on the Heritage Foundation's site.
We shared it. We shared the links.
It was a free PDF. And so I look at this and know that more deaths are coming, that everything that you have laid out, Waj, is 1,000% true. More deaths are coming. Slavery is here. And that, the level of trauma that this country is about to go through is like nothing that we've ever experienced in the modern age.
Can I say something real quick? Only because it's breaking news. Speaking about the level of trauma, pain, and violence.
Oh, God.
Breaking news. A man who was armed with an assault rifle opened fire on a building in Texas on Monday, was shot dead by federal officers. The building was a border patrol building. The man is Ryan Luis Mosqueda, 27. Many dozens of rounds were fired at the building and agents inside. We're still waiting for more information. But Danielle, this is escalation. I was promised Donald Trump would bring peace and security. It seems that by gutting Medicaid, unleashing ICE, terrorizing people, increasing the price of everything, trade wars that have resulted in failure, measles spiking, USAID being gutted, thousands of people losing their jobs due to DOGE cuts, and climate change, you add it all up, and what do you get, Danielle? Chaos, 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 and more escalation. And again, we're going to find out a little bit more about this. But if this man did fire, what seems like this is confirmed, he fired, we don't know the reason for it, folks, but the man literally fired at a border patrol building. Danielle, inference. Why do you think people would finally get radicalized? Oh, I don't know, in the past month. What's been happening?
I mean, it's just like, but again.
Are we great again yet, Rachel? Exactly.
This is what they want, right? Like, this is what you want. They wanted to create, manufactured chaos, manufactured disparity in order to then bring down the hammer even harder with a militarized government that now they have their own Gestapo for. And if you think that if we find out that this person wasn't a U.S. citizen, if we find out that this person is a brown person, if you think that this isn't going to result in like absolute fucking dramatic chaos this week, and let me just tell you, I know there's some that don't believe in astrology, but I just want to offer this.
What did the signs say?
Okay. And I want you to hang on to your hats. That the astrology of this week is the same astrology that the stars were aligned with Uranus entering Gemini. That happened at the Haitian Revolution, the
Mm.
American Revolution, the Civil War, and World War One.
Wow.
And I'm not like, and I literally like everyone is talking about it. It is this week. And so for you to come on here with breaking news about that, and then we're still counting the amount of deaths in this superstorm, folks, like prepare yourselves. And I don't even know what that preparation looks like, but this week is set up to be really fucking wild, astrologically speaking. And it to me, that escalation now, and we'll, as we get more information, by the time we get to our Wednesday show, I'm sure we'll have more information. I'm sure we'll have more information tonight. This is not going to be the last. In a country with more guns than people, Waj,
Yep.
we have been saying more guns than people. What do you think is going to happen when folks feel like their backs are against the wall, when folks are fucking terrified?
And this is what they want. And you said it. And Mediaite, or the right wing, I was talking to Joy Reid, had her on a couple of days ago. We talked about this. And I told Joy, because she was just like you, talking about the future and the threats. And she said, and like we have on this show, she doesn't think there'll be free and fair elections in 2026. And I said, watch out, Joy. The right wing's going to get pissed off. And then an article came out just on point yesterday. And folks, we know that Stephen Miller deliberately sent ICE to terrorize innocent communities to cause provocation and escalation. Why would they want to cause provocation and escalation? Because if there is retaliation, then there is an excuse to deploy the Marines and National Guard. Oh, look, there are the Marines and National Guard helping ICE in LA. And there are the Marines deployed the day before July 4th. Donald Trump said he's going to deploy at least 200 folks. Where? Not, against our enemies. Nope, in Florida to help ICE. And guess what's going to happen? Danielle and I have been saying it. There's going to come a time when someone's going to put their hands on the wrong person, right? Masked armed agents. What do you think is going to happen in a country with more guns than people? One person's going to flip out, or one person's grandma or grandpa or aunt or wife's going to be taken. And so one person's going to say, F you, I'm going to take my gun, one of many guns, and fight back. Voila. And what's going to happen, as Danielle and I have warned, and I hope we are wrong, is that Donald Trump, based on his own admissions, Danielle, I'm going to terminate the Constitution. I want to be a dictator for a day. I'm going to quote Hitler in October right before the election and say, I'm going to unleash the National Guard and Army among the enemy from within. What did he do? That's exactly what he did, Danielle, right? Again and again and again. What do you think a person like Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and MAGA, it's all of MAGA, it's all of them now. It's all of them. All of them except 2 voted in the House for this big billionaire bill, right? All of them except 3 voted in the Senate. It's all of them. It's not just Donald Trump. MAGA is Republicans. It's the entire movement, right? They're all reeks for Donald Trump. They know they can't win. What are they going to do? You think they're going to play fair? The same people who supported a violent insurrection and said nothing as Donald Trump pardoned 1,600 of them, even the violent ones? Just be prepared, folks. Just be prepared. And by the way, we've also talked about how MAGA turns on MAGA. And what we said, and we predicted this, I think it was last month remember when Kash Patel and Dan Bongino came out and said, oh, I don't know about the Epstein files. And I said, Danielle, as a masochist, I've been following right-wing media, so you don't have to. Folks, never go full conspiracy theorist, to paraphrase Tropic Thunder. Go half, because Dan Bongino, who was a podcast host, now the deputy director of FBI, I can't believe I just said that, and Kash Patel, another pro-January 6th insurrectionist conspiracy theorist fan who also has 0 experience in law enforcement, is, guess what? Our FBI director. And Pam Bondi, totally corrupt, took money from Qatar, Attorney General of Florida, got a little hush money, didn't go after Trump during the fraud case, but I digress. All of them said, when we get elected, those Epstein files are gonna be released. Danielle, can you please tell us why MAGA is eating each other alive today?
Oh, because according to their corrupt FBI and the corrupt Department of Justice, that there's no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful figures, kept a client list, or was murdered, according to the memo detailing findings obtained by Axios. Sure, Jan. Remember when the White House trotted out their mouthpieces while pretending that they were going to release the Epstein's client list? How does it feel to have been fooled, have fooled the rubes in your party? Libs of TikTok, Scott Pressler, DC Drano, Liz Wheeler. Here's their big the big file. Here is, and I purposefully cut this with her eyes closed because that is exactly where it's just like say nothing, see nothing, fingers and ears. Pam Bondi in February of this fucking year.
Yep.
The Epstein client list is sitting on my desk right now to review. Pam Bondi today, there is no Epstein client list, and no further disclosure of Epstein-related material would be appropriate or warranted. So what the fuck was on your desk? Anyone?
Bueller?
What was in these binders? What's in these binders? Anything? No. And here's the reason why none of this is being released. And I just want to play this for all of you. You just take a listen and you decide for yourself.
I think we have a snippet from one of the conversations that I recorded with Epstein. And I think this was in a restaurant in 2017.
His people fight each other.
Right.
And then have outsiders. He sort of poisons the well outside. He will tell 10 people Bannon's a scumbag and Priest is not doing a good job and Kelly has a big mouth. And what do you think? Jamie Dimon says that you're a problem and I shouldn't keep you. And I spoke to Carl Icahn, and Carl thinks I need a new spokesperson. So Kelly, even though I hired Kellyanne's husband, Kellyanne is just too much of a wild card. And then he tells Bannon, I really want to keep you, but Kellyanne hates you.
I have more than dozens. I probably have 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House and about his long-standing, deep relationship with Donald Trump.
But also, what does he say? He says in another clip, I was Donald's closest friend. Mm-hmm. And then Epstein apparently walked away from Donald because Epstein said he was too much of a criminal. Donald walked away from Epstein once, he started getting, that slap on the wrist. But he was Donald's closest friend, according to Epstein. And then we say maybe he's lying. But then we see, videos of Donald and Epstein partying. And then we see, quotes where Donald said, Jeffrey, he likes them young. He said this like years ago, like 20 years ago. Then we see Donald's name on the flight list. So I'm just curious, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
What was in those binders, like you mentioned? Mm-hmm. What was Pam Bondi talking about? Or was she lying? It seems clearly that she was lying. And if there is no list, then this Maxwell, who was his confidant / complicit partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, why is she in prison? Is she lying about the list? And if there's no list and flight list and data, then, what was the conspiracy that Bongino and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel were spreading to go after Democrats? Somebody's clearly lying. And guess what, folks? MAGA, I said this out. This is my prediction. I'm not saying MAGA is going to break and it's still a cult. But all I'm talking about is Ken Watanabe from Godzilla. Let them fight. Every crack, every fissure, every fitna we say as in Arabic, it adds up, it adds up, it adds up. Death by 1,000 cuts. They are turning on this issue. They will not forget, Danielle. And I don't know if you paid attention yesterday and today. Some folks in MAGA, they're going after Bongino, Bondi, and Patel. They're like, you promised us. What are you hiding? And this is the best part. Those three in particular talked about the deep state. Well, guess who's part of the deep state now? Who's the head of the FBI? Kash Patel. Who's deputy director? Dan Bongino. And who's the attorney general? Pam Bondi. And they promised their radicalized base, whom they radicalize, red meat, and they denied them. and now they're still hungry and they're salivating and they're turning on them. Danielle.
And, as it turns out, coincidentally, yet another person from the FBI has resigned. And the reason they've resigned is because evidently it turned out I had made a terrible mistake. I had remained friends with somebody who had appeared on Kash Patel's enemies list. How did Bongino find out about this private friendship? I honestly don't know. What business of it was his? None at all. Was I accused of any sort of misconduct? Nope, didn't matter. I faced a choice, get demoted or resign. I became the latest of a great many senior FBI special agents to walk out the door. So basically, what is happening, as Waj has laid out, is that they are in the midst of a huge cover-up because we all know how close Jeffrey Epstein was to Donald Trump. We also know Donald Trump's last attorney general, Bill Barr, went to visit Jeffrey Epstein just a few days before he hung himself in prison. We also know that right now, Ghislaine sitting in prison for, I guess, absolutely nothing because evidently Jeffrey Epstein was an upstanding citizen. The reason why, and there are some that are saying, well, why not just release everybody else's name associated and scrub Donald Trump's? Because guess what? Everybody would want a deal. And guess what would be included in that deal? I have information on Donald Trump, or I've been deeply associated with Donald Trump. And so this should show everybody just how ensnarled Donald Trump was with Epstein, a known pedophile, sex trafficker, right? And how many powerful people were aligned with this man. And let me tell you, Ghislaine, fucking idiot. Because if she had been just as smart as he had, she would have had her own set of files, her own set of lists, and she would have put that shit up as a way in order to have a backup for herself moving forward if and when things would go, belly up, which they did. And instead, the only person taking the fall for this sex trafficking ring of the most powerful men in the world is a woman. And doesn't that say everything that you need to know?
I mean, that's and that's several people have brought that up. And even, I know you're going to throw up in your mouth. I go on Piers Morgan. Even Piers Morgan has said, Ghislaine, how come there's only one person who's arrested, and that's Ghislaine, and all these powerful men who we know were associated with Jeffrey Epstein, none of them. How come all these powerful men, no one has been held to account, Danielle? Isn't that interesting? And then why would Jeffrey Epstein kill himself, even though he was surrounded, apparently by two guards who were on 24/7 suicide watch on him? And if he wasn't if this wasn't such a big deal, then why did Republicans make such a big deal about it for, 2 years? And again, I go back to the evidence you showed in the photos. What did the government give to Cernovich and libs of TikTok in those big binders? What was in the binders? Can you take photos of what was in the binders? Where did they release? I'm just very curious. And what was the list? Pam Bondi, were you lying? It seems clearly you were lying. So was there a list or was there not a list? Folks, never go full conspiracy theorist, because now it reeks of a conspiracy. To quote In Living Color, conspiracy. That's an old school reference for those who get it, early 90s. But let them turn on each other. Let these things crack, right? And fissures. And a quick thing also, because you can't shame shameless people, you can't use logic with the MAGA mouth breathers. But I'm talking about everyone else, right? The people who are kind of on the fence, the people who voted for him because they didn't like Kamala, the people who were misinformed. There's a bunch of those. The hardcore 25%, Daniel, we're never going to reach. But 5 to 10, even if there's a crack in 5 to 10, Daniel, Donald Trump can't sustain that, right? And what do they say about revolutions? You only need 3 or 4% of a population?
5.
Yeah. Just saying.
And in the midst of all of this, right? In the midst of all of this, we've been talking about the glimmer of hope inside of the Democratic Party. That is Zoran Mamdani's primary win in New York City. Why do we keep talking about this? Because it is a glimmer, but it is also a case study of the establishment Democrats, and how many institutions, how many industries are conspiring together to keep the people down and keep the billionaires up. So Semaphore, which is a great outlet, if you all are not reading Semaphore, you should, said at the New York Times, published a hit piece on Zoran to not get scooped by Chris Rufo,
Oh my God.
CRT fear peddler, who offered $5,000 for proof of Haitians eating cats. People are really upset inside the New York Times. Again, the story itself is the scandal, because the New York Times published a hit piece with information from a known fucking white supremacist as their as their deep throat, as their behind the scenes person, knowing good goddamn well that the person is a white supremacist, but their whole goal is to conjure up conspiracy around Zoran Mamdani to put into question his legitimacy so that he can be taken down by the billionaires that want to now back Eric Adams, who is so fucking corrupt. We need a new name for corrupt. So, to be clear, the New York Times cut a deal with Jordan Kramu Lasker, an already identified eugenicist and far-right activist, to get hacked data from Colombia for a story casting aspersions on Zoran Mamdani's hyphenated identity. That's the true story. Folks.
Wait, can you keep it here? Read that. I see you all see that highlighted part. He provided the data under condition of anonymity. Yep. Keep reading. Although his identity has been made public elsewhere, he is an academic who opposes affirmative action and writes often about IQ and race. Danielle, we can't make this shit up. This guy is a eugenicist, white nationalist. Just go look at his Twitter profile. We're talking about like Nazi bunked, like friggin' eugenicist IQ crap, like the stuff that Nazis and like slave owners like used to use, right? White nationalists, like cranium stuff, and like whites are genetically superior, that type of stuff. They relied upon him, number one. Number two, they gave this guy cover. They protected him. Said, oh, we won't. He asked us to remain anonymous. Oh, wait. Okay, we will. And then number three, if you're a Nazi eugenicist, this is how the New York Times whitewashes you. An academic who opposes affirmative action and writes often about IQ and race. But if you're Zoran Mamdani, is he an anti-Semite? If you're Miss Rachel, why is Miss Rachel for the Palestinians, right? And the fact, because I keep receipts, they rushed this BS smear job, relying upon a eugenicist because they feared the paper of record, the gray lady, the New York Times, feared they were about to be scooped by Chris Rufo. Who is Chris Rufo? Right-wing hack filmmaker who decided to make money off of fear-mongering like a supervillain. We've been talking about him for 3 years on this show. Has openly told the world his plot to weaponize CRT and DEI into a bad faith talking point to hurt Democrats. Furthermore, Danielle openly tweeted that, yeah, what we do is we create these right-wing memes and we get it from the right wing and then we launder it through mainstream media to normalize it. He openly said it. And guess who gave him space to write an op-ed column after he admitted all of this? The New York Times. And to beat Chris Rufo, this right-wing hack, they decided to do this. It's worse and worse and worse. It gets worse.
It gets worse because the New York Times responds to the criticism of its Mamdani story, likening the concerns about their sources to, quote, WikiLeaks or Edward Snowden. Patrick Healy. Sometimes sources have their own motives or obtain information using means we wouldn't, like Trump's taxes, WikiLeaks, or Edward Snowden. It's important to share what we can about sourcing, but we always independently assess newsworthiness and factual accuracy before publishing, which you fucking didn't. And if what this statement is saying from Patrick Healy is that they are saying that this white nationalist has what? He's credit worthy? What? We should believe him? What? Anyone can now have the title academic? It doesn't matter what the fuck you study, supposedly, or where you're getting your information from. He goes on, sourcing, we work to give readers context, including, in this case, the initial source's online alias, as a way to learn more about the person who is effectively or intermediary. The ultimate source was Columbia admissions data and Mr. Mamdani.
Blah. It's all blah. It's all blah. It's a long thread where they don't apologize and they make things worse. And Danielle and I have been saying, and I've been saying for years, is as a student of history, the establishment and corporations will lay the red carpet out for fascism. I've been saying it for years. Folks, what more do you need to see? We said the institutions, the establishment, and corporate everything will lay out the red carpet for fascism, right? If fascism is good for business in the short term, they'll align with fascists. Yep. That's what happened in Italy. That's what happened in Nazi Germany. It was the industrialists who helped Hitler rise to power. And many of those industrialists, by the way, later on, were tried and convicted for war crimes. Just saying. And so now, instead of doing the right thing, they have decided to do both sides with Nazis, and they're doing the bidding of the establishment, of AIPAC, of corporate donors, of the Dem establishment, and trying to destroy Zoran Mamdani because of what Zoran Mamdani represents, a threat to the establishment.
Yep.
It's what he represents, a threat to the billionaires, a threat to the 1%, a threat to those in power. And like I was mentioning in some of my shows, it's also the fact, Danielle, they couldn't crush him. They couldn't crush AOC. They couldn't crush the squad. They can't crush Mamdani. And Danielle, what happens if it spreads?
But that's,
what happens if it spreads?
But you have to, again, I just want to go back to the budget for ICE. You have to go back and connect all of these dots and think about, why would we need a deputized, Trump-ordered military that now, by the way, has no oath, right? They're not, ICE is not a part of our branches of military, but they've been given militarized power. Do you understand that? They did not take an oath to the Constitution. They were formed out of paranoia, right? From 9/11. Like, this is where we are. And they have a budget that is to suppress the masses. This is not just about immigration. It is about the fact that what is happening right now, this incredible transition that we find ourselves in this moment, is all about power, and it is all about greed, capitalism, and racism. This confluence of all of these systems that have been put in place to keep the 1% at the 1% and everyone else on the bottom. But the people on the bottom, for the 1%, started to get a little bit too big for their britches, started to ask for just a little bit too much. Oh, we want more healthcare and quality education and paid leave and remote work and all of these things that any civilized country would have. And the powers that be said no. And for them, when COVID was showing us a new way to actually be, they saw it as a potential for them of losing power and more of a democratized workforce. They don't want that. It means less for them.
Yep.
So what does this all come back to? Again, creating the conditions for fear, creating the conditions for mayhem so that you can control. And then when you incarcerate everyone, you call everybody a terrorist, you call everybody a dissenter, then you have your new free labor force. That's what they're going to do. That is what they are doing
It's
right
a simple
now.
story. It's an American story, and it's a story that you need to take the DeLorean not to 1953 to 1853. That's what they want. Rich, white men in power who have all the control, and the rest of us bend the knee and take it. They get more money. We work and die. We're grateful for their mercy and their crumbs. Women know their place. The rest of us know our place. If we follow the rules, we'll be tolerated because it's no longer the 18th century. It's the 21st century. But instead of slavery, a type of indentured workforce, right? People are always broke. People are sick. People are tired. And how many people are incarcerated in America? More people are incarcerated in America than any other country in the world. For perspective, America has the population of about 340 million. China is about 1 billion. India is about more than 1 billion. America incarcerates more people than those countries, folks. 80% of people who are incarcerated are poor people. So what happens when people are poor and desperate, Danielle? They make silly decisions. They F things up. Drugs, alcohol, violence. Sometimes people do things just to survive. Excuse to lock them up. You keep locking them up. Now you send them to private prisons. Free workforce. Private prison, the stock has gone up. We've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, folks. Look at who stocks have gone up. And we've been saying it ever since last week because Democrats, instead of focusing on the $175 billion going to ICE in the big budget bill, the last 2 weeks, they've spent mostly their time trying to eliminate and destroy Mamdani. For example, Danielle, can you give this latest clip? This was just 2 days ago?
Yeah, it's just, again, did this purposefully with his fucking eyes closed, Hakeem Jeffries. Take a listen to his a part of his conversation with Al Sharpton on MSNBC.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is attacking Mamdani over reports that he identified himself as African American and Asian on college application. Mamdani was born in Uganda, his parents from India. What are your thoughts on this issue? Mamdani has checked multiple boxes trying to capture what he calls the fullness of his background. I mean, is this a real issue to you?
I think to me, the issue that we have to deal with in New York City, which our Democratic nominee did talk about extensively during the primary campaign, is affordability. And particularly in many of the neighborhoods that are being overwhelmed by gentrification and wiped out by housing displacement, that whoever's going to be the next mayor of the city of New York really needs to articulate a concrete plan for making sure that working class communities, including working class neighborhoods of color, can still have a place in our great city, the city that both of us love, but we know is changing significantly in terms of the opportunity for working families and middle class folks to be able to continue to call it home.
I'm old enough to remember when he and Gillibrand and others went on TV, I think it was a week and a half ago, and smeared Mamdani with the quote that he never said. And to this day, folks, guess who hasn't endorsed him? Jeffries.
And just for clarification, the only person now in this race between Mamdani and Eric Adams that has spoken about the working class, that has a plan for free buses, that has a plan for baby baskets, that has a plan for rent control, that has at all centered the needs of working class people is the Democratic Socialist Mamdani. Eric Adams was recently let off of his grifting indictment, is in the pocket of billionaires, sold out the city to the police, got kickbacks from Turkey. So yeah, as Hakeem Jeffries talks out of both sides of his fucking mouth, New Yorkers just need to keep their eyes wide open.
And our God bless Democracyish viewers. You all are on the ball. You guys are a step ahead of us. That foreign money, that corporate money, that APEC money, that billionaire money, Democrats refuse to learn. They still keep sucking at the teat of the billionaires, the corporate donors, and APEC. But Danielle, can you tell them how the times they is a changing? This was stunning.
This is stunning. So, regarding Mamdani and Israel, Democrats are no longer pro-Israeli when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is according to reporting by CNN. Democrats sympathized more with Israelis by 13 points in 2017. Now it's Palestinians by 43 points. Among Democrats under 50, it was Israelis by 14 points in 2017. Now it's Palestinians by 57 points.
I mean, Danielle, the only time, there's two things in my life that I've seen that have shocked me, where there's been such a whiplash and change of opinion. I recall, because I'm old enough, marriage equality or even acceptance of LGBTQ. Barack Obama in his first administration, and I remember, you know better than I do, you're an activist, and you're from these communities, like, oh, I'm for traditional marriage. Oh, no. I'm fine with it, but I'm for traditional marriage. Second administration, within 4 years, 180. And now you see Democrats saying, hey, we love the gays, kind of. Mostly. We like the LGBs.
Right,
somewhat.
exactly.
Right. But the shift, the generational shift was remarkable. This time, on this issue, Danielle, let's go back to that real quick.
Let me go back. Yeah.
Wait. Folks, just look at those numbers. Now the question is why? Well, AIPAC and ADL, which is the most useless organization on earth, and others would say anti-Semitism. I would say because an entire generation, and no longer just young people, folks, have been radicalized in real time by genocide that has been streamed to their phones live for the past year and a half. And all that narrative, all those lies, it no longer works. It no longer works either for the left wing or the right wing on this issue. And Dems are still stuck in 2015. Dems are still stuck in 2017. They refuse to let go of that acorn. They refuse to stop sucking at the teat. And Danielle, they would rather burn themselves and the party down than to actually embrace Mamdani in what he stands for. I mean, this is just something remarkable.
Well, friends, we are going to leave it there today because I lost track of time because there's so much friggin' news today.
We had this.
I know we do, but But
guys, look at the double standards. This is fine. This is okay. No problem. No coverage. You had hardcore right-wing Zionists like John Podhoretz who's saying, if anyone drops bombs in Iran, I'm not making this up. Look at his tweet. Donald Trump bombed Iran. He can say Sharlak as much as he wants, revealing the game. It's not about anti-Semitism. It's about using it as a cudgel against the rest of us, against activists, against universities. New York Times, no big expose. This has not been in the news. Donald Trump doubled down on this, did not apologize. He's a 79-year-old man. He knows exactly what that term means. And folks, what are we talking about? Zoran Mamdani. It's a complete rigged game. But the people are waking up. The people are saying enough is enough. I think Mamdani is going to win. I hope he, God forbid, I hope he's safe. I'll leave it at that. And as Danielle said, the stars, they're aligning. I remember there was a group in this country that said no taxation without representation. Folks, there's a lot of ways to protest. We say keep it nonviolent, keep it peaceful. One of the ways is to be informed. One of the ways is to support your family, your street, your local community. One of the ways is to organize the No Kings rally, use your dollar to protest, support those organizations that do good, withhold your dollar from those who do bad. The color that trumps the color white in this country is color green. Don't forget it. There's multiple ways to resist. And one of the ways is to support independent media. This is what you're getting from the New York Times. I was a contributing op-ed writer for 5 years. It's painful for me to see this. I was on CNN for a year. It's painful for me to see this, but they're going to fail. And so Danielle and I, we're independent. We do it by ourselves. We don't bend the knee to anyone. We don't take a dollar from anybody. We depend on the kindness of strangers and our viewers. The nearly 1,900 people who are watching, our numbers are increasing. Danielle and I also have Substacks where, like fools, we've kept everything for free. No paywalls. Pay what you can. I'm at the Left Hook. Danielle's at Damn Digest. We also do a midweek check-in. That's going to be on Wednesday. Our next show, Democracy-ish, is on Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Danielle has a YouTube channel. You're watching this on YouTube. She finally got to 25,000. Now she's at 26. So we got to get her to 30,000. And for all the 10 folks who gave us these tips, if you want to give us a tip, please do. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you so much, Rebecca, Marsha. Tina always gives us something. Thank you. If you look underneath, you see a bubble with ... You click that bubble, you'll see a dollar sign. It's a tip. All of this goes a long way. So we thank all of you for supporting us. Thank you all for watching us. Danielle, final word to you because you have to run.
My friend, I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. As always, it is incredible. The numbers are growing. I think that we're over 26.6 thousand subscribers on this YouTube channel that you're watching. And I'll just echo what Waj says. This is independent media. We told you what the New York Times is giving you. We told you what the Washington Post gives you now. And everyone is conspiring against the people. Like that's the facts. So continue to support, like, subscribe, share this as soon as it goes up, which will be as soon as we hit end. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Wednesday for our midweek check-in on Substack. Until then, take care of yourselves. This week is going to be a lot. Every day has been a lot. So make sure that you take care of yourselves, your community, your mental health, and yourselves. And we will see you back here Wednesday. Be well.